You're watching West Hartford Community Television.
You're watching West Hartford Community Television.
For the community, by the community.
Hi, and thanks for joining us for a very special Valentine's themed show on Two Guys and a Lot of Wine. I'm Bobby P.
And I'm James Kimbrough.
And we're going to be tasting Risque Reds for Valentine's Day, Jim. And I'm feeling randy, I'm feeling risque, and I think we're going to have some interesting tastings tonight.
Well, you know, the whole point of this lineup we're doing tonight was to kind of get your partner in the right mood for Valentine's Day. So we've got some suggestive names. And these are all great red wines. They're all blends, but Bob and I have had them all before.
Yeah, these aren't gimmicky. I mean, these are actually really good wines, and it's even better because they actually have a nice, sexy label.
Yeah.
Now, you don't usually buy wine because of the label, but
that's the wrong reason to buy wine. But yeah, we're making recommendations tonight of really good wines to have, and they send kind of a suggestive message at the same time.
Yeah, and that's what you want. It's Valentine's Day. Hug your lover and drink some red wine. And we couldn't actually resist the temptation of the temptation tonight. So we actually early poured, and it's going to be one of our first ones we're tasting tonight. And I haven't actually had this one.
Well, this is the first one we're going to try tonight. And this is one you brought in. So
it is. It's a California Zinfandel, and you know Zinfandels tend to be a little fruit forward. Some people say they're jammy, but I think there's a lushness to a Zinfandel which goes perfectly for Valentine's Day. You compare it with some chocolate. You compare it with some really pungent cheese. Well, I don't know about the pungent cheese. I don't know if you want a mouthful of pungent cheese when you're drinking red wine with your lover.
Not for Valentine's Day.
Not for Valentine's. Let's go back to the chocolate.
But but you're tying into two shows we've done in the past. We did a whole Red Zinfandel show, and this would have worked perfectly in the lineup there. You know, the Red Zinfandels tended to have a lot more alcohol content to them than a typical wine. So if you're trying to get your partner a little tipsy, Zinfandel's the way to go.
It is, and we should say the alcohol is higher in a Zinfandel.
Just a couple of percentage points.
I think it's between 14 and some can be as high as 17.
Yeah.
So you might want to sip that a little slower, and when you're
or drink a little water in between.
You should always hydrate with a Zinfandel because it does tend to be a little on the higher alcohol side. So, all right, let's see what this baby tastes like. You get that peppery scent right off the bat for a Zin.
You do. It's a very warm, spicy kind of taste, which is typical of Zinfandel.
You know, what's great about a Zin, and I know we talked about this before, is there's a very unique flavor profile for a Zin, and I find it very pleasing. It's a little on the strong side, but I like it. I like the little peppery aspect of it. I like the jamminess of it a little bit. It's very pleasant.
Yeah, those are some of my favorite characteristics of Zinfandel. It just, the pepper jumps out at you. You get some, like you said, the jammy characteristic. The fruit is fantastic with this. And you mentioned earlier about pairing this with chocolate, which reminds me of that first Valentine's show we did 2 years ago.
You're right. Geez, we did pair some great chocolate with some of the reds we had.
And we did a Zinfandel that night.
We did. I don't recall which one it was.
It was, I'm not going to recall either, but we did a dark chocolate with that, which paired really well. So if you're doing a chocolate pairing, just remember the wine should be sweeter than the chocolate. So if you have a Zinfandel, not very sweet wine, you want to have a very bitter chocolate to go with this.
You know, I do vividly remember the difference in the chocolate flavor profiles when we had the wine, when we had the Zinfandel with the chocolate. And didn't we try a white chocolate too, which didn't go very well with some of the stuff, but there was a salted chocolate, which went great.
That was fantastic. Oh. Yeah, you got the salt and the acidity from the wine. It was fantastic combo.
You know, and just briefly on the temptation, this California Zin, you know, it's a reasonably priced Zin. You know, it is available locally. It's between, I think, $12 and $15 around that price point. But you know, if you're shopping, and you're going to be seeing this show throughout the whole month of February, so watch it early before Valentine's Day, and you know, check this one out because it's a delicious red Zin. It's a sexy bottle, and you know, if you want to have a little cocktail or a little wine first before going out for dinner. This is a good first choice, I think.
I love it, yeah. And we put this one first in the lineup tonight because I think as we move through this, you're going to get a little more fruit and some silkiness from these other wines. But this is a great first wine to have.
It is, hence why the temptation.
Yeah.
The temptation grabbed us and pulled us right in for the first wine of the Valentine show. So I think it's a great choice, and I'm glad I picked it up.
Yeah, I've given it a thumbs up.
Definitely a thumbs up, but just remember it is a little higher on the alcohol, so drink it a little bit slower and drink some water with it. So, Brian?
All right, next in our lineup, 50 Shades of Grey. Now, I'm sure your wife has read this book. I know mine has.
I'm not at liberty to say.
Well, they've not only launched a book, they've launched a movie, and now they've got a wine with the same title. And I've had this on a number of occasions. I've served this to you a couple of times, Bob.
We had this last week when I had a wonderful, fantastic weekend up there with you and your lovely wife, and we were spoiled immensely, by the way. The man knows how to cook, knows how to serve wine, so thanks again for that.
I like to pair food and wine together.
It was phenomenal. But you're right, I did have this, and it was delicious.
It's great, yeah. This is a red blend. A lot of different red grapes go into this, and they've created a flavor profile that is just, it's fantastic. This bottle sells for probably around anywhere between $15 and $20 a bottle, depending on where you pick it up. Great value.
Yeah, you know, what's fascinating is, even though people might see this and think it's a gimmicky, oh, it's just they're copying the book. But remember, all the wines here tonight are actually good wines. It's not just a gimmicky one-hit wonder. These are actually really, really good wines. That's a great aroma.
It does. Just, it ties your tongue up in knots.
You know, when I had this last week, I think this was a little bit later in the evening. Oh, wait, no, I did try this early on. And the flavor profile changed a little bit as I had it later in the evening as we went through more bottles of wine. And now it's a little bit smoother than what I recall from last week. It's very smooth on the palate.
It's funny how your palate changes over the course of an evening, especially if you're trying a lot of different wines. And you know, the wine can taste one way, you know, the first moment you have it. And if you don't have anything else at all, and you just come back to that wine an hour later, you know, your palate's changed a little bit, the wine has opened up and breathed a little bit, it's going to taste different. But then if you're drinking other wines in between, which is what we were doing that night, yeah, you've got a whole lot of acidity going on in your mouth and some different flavor profiles that start to compete with each other. You come back to a wine you had earlier, you might have a completely different opinion of it.
What's interesting, and I don't think we've done this type of show before in regards to, these are pretty strong wines we're drinking tonight, I think, in general.
Yeah, they are.
So, I mean, there's a lot of flavor going on in these first two bottles, and it's Valentine's Day. You want a lot of flavor in your love life. So, I mean, there's a tie in there too. And these aren't like a Pinot Noir. There's actually a lot of stuff going on in both these first two wines.
Yeah, they're not subtle at all.
No, not at all.
You know,
Not
Pinot
at
Noir
all.
tends to kind of hide in the background. These are very bold wines.
But I love the aroma on this one, which I don't recall really experiencing last weekend because I was too busy talking and eating and drinking. But this has a really beautiful bouquet.
I get a very strong black currant finish with this. And then at the end, there's a little bit of tannin. And the tannin sensation is that sensation that kind of dries your mouth out.
You know, it's funny you should mention the tannins because you're absolutely right. I mean, it is a little bit of tannin, but it's not so much like it's a French tannin where it's just, you get a lot more of the earthiness like in a French red. This is much smoother. It's just a hint, but it's enough to know you got it there.
Right. Yeah, and I'm not a big tannin fan, but I like a little bit, and that's what this wine has. It's just a touch of tannin. Dries your mouth out just a little bit at the end.
And then you kiss, and then your mouth gets moist again. So everything's going to be in relation to Valentine's Day. So just prepare yourself, folks. But Jim, this is fantastic. It was good last week, and it's even better now.
Yeah.
So, where did you first find this one? How did you come across this one?
You know, I just saw a display in the store, and immediately, you know, what jumps to mind? The book title.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's what they're trying to tie into.
And these are all available locally? This one's available locally, too?
Yeah, I got this in Boston, but you'll find this here in Connecticut also. I've seen it here.
What's great is there's also not a bad after flavor or aftertaste on this. It's sort of, it does its thing in your mouth and slowly dissipates.
It goes away, yeah. The finish kind of just ends, and you know, a lot of my favorite wines kind of linger, but this one ends fairly quickly, and I'm okay with that though. I
agree.
I like the flavor, and then it's gone.
Yeah, that's right, absolutely. I'm going to cleanse my palate a little bit before our next one.
You should. Yeah, our next wine is a little more suggestive than the first two. This is the Menage a Trois. And I've been drinking this for years. I love Menage a Trois.
And I've had it myself a few times.
And you find this everywhere. So if you go to a wine store and you can't find some of the other wines we're recommending tonight, you will find Menage a Trois every store you go into.
Yes, absolutely. And
it's got very good distribution.
It does, and it's a catchy title, and as always, practice Menage a Trois responsibly. I'm referring to drinking, by the way. And but you're right, it has a great reputation, and it's actually a really good wine.
I love it. It's another blend. They've been selling the regular Menage a Trois for quite a while. They recently rolled out a new version of this called Menage a Trois Midnight, which I just tried last week. Loved it. It's a darker concentration of, it's a more concentration of fruits. You get a darker color when you look at the wine in the glass. Now you look at this is pretty dark to begin with.
It is pretty dark.
The Midnight, even darker. But this is a fantastic blend. Very silky. Great nose.
Wow. Once again, I say the same thing over and over again. How many times I do the show. This is why I love the show, because this tastes completely different than our first two. And what's interesting about this one is it doesn't hit your mouth with as full of boldness as the first two. It's much more subtle.
It is. It's seducing your tongue.
See? That's actually perfect. Perfect analogy.
It's got a kind of a silky texture to it and a little bit of a vanilla hint to it.
This is a California wine, right? The Menage a Trois?
I believe so. Let me take a look here.
Pretty sure it is.
Yes, Napa County.
And I think everything on the table tonight is a California. Yes, everything on the table is a California tonight. So we're keeping the love in America for Valentine's Day. And once again, you can find this pretty much anywhere.
This is everywhere, yeah.
So don't be intimidated by, it's just a gimmicky label. This is actually really good. Drinking red. Really good.
And again, to go back to what we talked about, with chocolate pairings, you could do chocolates with all these. Just keep in mind, you want the wine to be sweeter than the chocolate. So with all of these that we're drinking tonight, get a very bitter chocolate, something very dark, a high cacao content. No.
Jim, once again, you bring up an interesting point because, as you're watching this show, and a few years back we did the chocolate pairing, this is a great way to do these reds. You're with your significant other and you want to have a little wine. Experiment with the chocolates first. Try 3 or 4, especially chocolate with salt in it. Mm-hmm. I think the Ghirardelli has some great choices for chocolate, right?
They do, yeah. They've got the sea salt variety.
The sea salt variety, that's right.
They've got an orange flavored chocolate, which is fantastic.
The orange is really good. It is really good. And that would pair great with just a little sampling of each one of these wines or wines similar to this for your romantic Valentine's evening. Mm-hmm. Of course, I can't use these now for seducing my wife, so it's, I got to get something else now. So it's.
Well, we're keeping this affordable too. The motto of our show is wines under $20, and the Menage a Trois is, you're going to find that in the $10 to $15 range. So it's a very affordable wine.
And once again, when you buy this particular type of wine, it's completely different flavor profile than the Zin and the 50 Shades of Grey. So we've been talking about the boldness of the first two wines. This is much more subtle.
This, a lot of times you look at wine or you taste wine and you think, what could I pair this with? But with the Menage a Trois, this is a wine I could just drink on its own. It's so enjoyable by itself. I don't feel the need to eat anything with this or pair it with something.
No, I know it's a red blend. Do we know the types? I know California red blends can be, they tend to do, I think Cabernet Sauvignon is the main grape in most of the blends. Sometimes some Merlot, some Cab Francs.
Yeah, they put a lot of Merlot in to kind of smooth out some of the harsher notes from the Cabernet Sauvignon or a Cab Franc. I don't know exactly what the blend is here. I didn't look at that before we.
But it is smooth.
Yeah.
This is really, really smooth. And this is like you said, this is the kind of wine you can just sit and linger and enjoy without actually even pairing anything with it because it's so smooth and tasty.
And just glancing at the label here, I can see this is Zinfandel, Merlot, and Cabernet Sauvignon. So it's the 3 big red varietals.
It's always that Merlot that smooths things out.
Exactly.
Usually.
Yeah, they use that. You can drink Merlot by itself, but it really is best as a blending grape to kind of round out the harsh edges of Cab or Zinfandel. I
know we've never actually done an actual strictly Merlot show, which would be interesting, since the whole Sideways or whatever movie was. I actually enjoy a Merlot just on its own occasionally. And there are actually some really good Merlots, but
There are.
It does go good as a blend.
And you know, Merlot was a really big selling grape varietal until Sideways came out, and that just destroyed Merlot. Honestly, it did. I hate to say that one movie or one movie line was responsible.
Yeah, we
for,
can't say the movie line, but
Yeah.
you'll know it if you've seen the movie. But you know, Merlot's great. I enjoy it, and whether they're trying to or use it as a blend is fantastic. So, I got to say again, even though we've tasted these, it's nice to go back to them and drink them again to realize that we weren't just saying that. These are actually really, really good reds.
Yeah. And it's comforting for you at home to know that we've previewed all these for you and can make strong recommendations for everything here on the table.
It is, and once again, generally that's why we do the show. Yeah. So people don't go out and buy dogs. We don't want that.
No dogs.
So, Jim, one of the more provocative titles of the evening, The Seducer. And I think you've had The Seducer.
I've had it a couple of times.
And, you know, it's another red blend. The mixture's on the back there. It's a really, really good red. It's got some great reviews, actually. I did some research on it just on its own. And
this is Zinfandel also with a little Syrah.
Yes.
And they're calling us a 5% Ruby Cab blend. And I'm going to have to look this up and see exactly how Ruby Cab differs from Cabernet Sauvignon. But it's another fantastic red.
Wow, now this aroma is extremely minerally, extremely earthy right off the bat.
This is why I put this one last in the lineup tonight. I think this is going to be the most bold of everything we've got on the table.
You know, I also did some research, especially on this one, and this is probably our most Bordeaux-centric style wine out of the three here. I mean, it's got a lot of French Bordeaux characteristics.
It does.
But in general, it's a California, so it's smoothed out by the blend of the California grape.
Yeah, I think this really embodies the California impression of a French Bordeaux, or the California, impersonation of a French Bordeaux. You get a little bit of terroir right at the front of this.
I'm so excited. This is so good. This is what I love, both in a French wine and the California version of a French wine. I'm getting everything that I find extremely exciting in a flavor of a wine in this bottle. I get the minerally earthness that I love in a wine, especially a French red, but I get the smoothness of the California style in here. This is,
yeah.
I wish I could sit down for a moment.
We got to get some chairs on this set.
Really, really good. You know what's great though is you can actually cellar these, especially the Seducer and most of these California wines, for years, and you're not going to harm them.
You can, and when you look at the history of wine production, wines originally were produced and meant to be cellared. You weren't supposed to drink them right away. And then the American consumer obviously got very impatient and said, I want to drink a wine right now. And so winemakers started producing wines that you could consume immediately. And now, here we are in this kind of gray area where, you could buy these and drink them today, and they're fantastic. But if you want to put them down for a few years, you're not going to hurt them either.
No, and obviously you want to store them in a temperature that's consistent, obviously. Yep. But you can age these without doing any harm. And actually, it'll probably actually even get better. At least the Seducer, excuse me, I heard you can age this for up to 10 more years without there being an issue.
I would not doubt that at all.
But flavor profile, this is definitely the most intriguing to me this evening in regards to what's going on in the bottle.
It certainly is the most complex, and the Ménage à Trois was pretty complex also. And not to say that the Temptation and 50 Shades were bland or just had one taste component to them. This is what I love about red blends, is because the winemaker tries to get a lot of different characteristics into the bottle, and I think they've succeeded with all four of these. These are not simple wines. Just giving you one flavor profile.
No, and especially the Ménage à Trois, it's a perfect combination of Ménage à Trois. Everybody seems to be enjoying themselves. Once again, it's the grape I'm talking about. Yeah. And all three grapes, or all varietals, seem to work perfectly in the Ménage à Trois. And the Seducer, the grapes are working in a different way, which gives you the same type of exhilaration that I get with wine, but in a way that gives you a little bit more mineraliness and terroir.
Yes.
In the wine.
And I get a little more heat with this. I think that's the Zinfandel showing through, that the higher alcohol content is producing a little bit of heat in the back of the mouth. And I love that sensation. It's fantastic.
You know, you are right. I don't know exactly what the alcohol content is on the Seducer compared to the other ones. I'm assuming they're pretty much all pretty close in regards
They
to...
taste pretty close tonight, and I think we've had Zinfandel in every bottle tonight, so we've done a good job.
Happy Valentine's Day,
Happy
Jay.
Valentine's Day to you.
But some great choices. Delicious. Now, we did the Zinfandel show, was that 2 shows ago, 3 shows ago?
A couple months ago, yeah.
That was with Eli.
Yep.
And I know we didn't have this one, but this particular one certainly could have paired right well with the ones that he brought in and we brought in.
Any one of these would have worked well with that lineup. I mean, these are blends. I think we were drinking more straight Zinfandels that night.
We were, I believe, yeah, we were. And the alcohol content was definitely more pronounced in all 3 of those. I think these, actually I can see one right now. The 50 Shades of Grey is actually 13.5, which puts it probably at an even keel for most reds.
Yeah, that's a typical red, 12, 13%. So that's a touch higher, but not too much.
Yeah.
And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say that's just the Zinfandel poking through, saying, hey, we're going to boost the alcohol content just a little bit here.
Now, in your experience out in Boston, I know you've done a lot of tastings yourself, and I know you did that fantastic rosé tasting a while back. Yeah. Have you ever done just a Zin tasting or anything like that? Just strictly in one of those?
Not in Boston, no. I think this show's the only time I've sat down and just had all Zinfandels, and this is our second go-round doing it. Not even trying.
I will say though, this is probably next to a few of the other shows we did with some little higher price stuff. I've been impressed with every one of these reds on the table tonight. I mean, they've been spectacular, delicious, really good.
Well, that's why we rated our cellars to find the best stuff for Valentine's Day.
And we don't do that too often unless we're really impressed with ourselves. And I'm pretty impressed with ourselves for what we picked tonight. You know, there's another question I wanted to ask you. I know we got a chance to play around with your tasting or your smelling kit in Boston last weekend.
Yeah.
And the flavor profiles that aren't fruit centric, like I believe one of the things was like wood or leatherly. Can we just contrive or give any connotation to words that best describe these flavors that aren't fruit centric? Is there anything else other than fruit that you would?
Oh yeah, I throw those words out all the time, and if it jumps out of the glass at me, if there's a lot of oak or leather or cigar flavor, I had a red blend a couple of weeks ago called Cigar Box, and I think they named it Cigar Box because you got such a strong tobacco smell from the wine. The minute you smelled it, you thought you were sniffing a cigar box, and then when you tasted it, you still had a little bit of a tobacco taste in the mouth also.
That actually probably freaks some people out when they think of, because they think of wine that's always got to be fruity. That's not the case. When we're talking about non-fruit aromas or flavors, that's not a bad thing at all.
Yeah, and I've described wines in the past as tasting like gunpowder, but I always immediately follow that up by saying, that's not a bad description. I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm just telling you, what's jumping out at me.
Yeah, I mean, if it was actual gunpowder, that's not the flavor we're trying to say. It's just if you're trying to transcribe an aroma or a flavor to something. And your kit that you have sort of lets you smell all these varietals of scents.
Yeah, we'll have to do a show on that. I'll bring that in at some point.
It's fascinating, actually, how you can get the scents in these little bottles that really can pair with what you're smelling and tasting in the wine.
Yeah, and the whole point of that is to help you pick those scents out of a wine. So you go through, I think, 40 different smells in this kit, and you're like, oh yes, I have smelled something grassy in the past, and it was that Sauvignon Blanc from New Zealand.
Yeah, and these particular reds, I mean, the flavor profile is similar until we get to the Seducer, and that's a little bit off the charts in regards, at least for me.
Yeah.
But these every one of the wines we've tasted tonight would be a fantastic choice for a very romantic evening to start off.
Absolutely.
Before heading to Fleming's or Max's, I'm keeping it local here in West Hartford. It'd be a great choice.
Yeah, or you could just stay at home and enjoy a couple of these.
Or your menage a trois. Now I noticed you've also brought, and we can't pick it up, but I brought your microfiber drying towel.
I did. This was, we do gadgets on the show every once in a while. This is something I got as a Christmas gift, a little stocking stuffer. This is a microfiber drying towel. It's from The Wine Enthusiast. And when we did the Riedel show, we talked about how some people get so obsessive about cleaning every little bit of the glass and getting all the water spots off. Some people go so far as to steam the glasses. This is a towel that was designed specifically for drying out fine crystal glasses, so it's not going to leave any lint on the glass. You know, a lot of times you get just a regular dish towel or a rag, and you start to dry the glass, and there's little dust particles
You're
or
right.
something. You won't have that problem with this. It soaks up a lot of moisture, so very quickly you've dried out the whole glass. You can do a whole set of 12 glasses very quickly with these. So just wanted to point this out. You know, if you're looking for something to get the glasses dry very quickly, the microfiber drying towel from the Wine Enthusiast is a great choice.
And I know you're much more meticulous when it comes to drying your glasses than I am. I still put glasses occasionally through the dishwasher, even my good ones, and I know I shouldn't do that. If Carrie's hearing that, forget you heard that. Just make believe you didn't hear that. I do cheat sometimes because I'm just too lazy.
A lot of people use the dishwasher, and I personally I don't use my own dishwasher for my wine glasses, but I predominantly serve out of Riedels, and those are dishwasher safe, but I prefer to hand wash them and then air dry them, although now I'm using the microfiber towel. So,
Just really quick, with the remaining minutes here, Jim, why is it bad to put good glasses in a dishwasher?
the main problem you run into is that there's some kind of fragrance in the soap.
Could you just, if you're just having a party like we always do, can you just clean the wine glasses and just use the hot setting without any detergent? Would that make a difference?
You could, but then, you know, what are you doing? You're just rinsing the glass.
You're steaming
not-
them sort of
yeah,
almost, right?
Yeah.
That might work.
I use a flavor neutral soap from the Wine Enthusiast. They make a soap specifically for wine glasses. It doesn't have any kind of extra fragrances added, no aroma to it. And I use just a regular sponge, or you can. They have wine glass sponges. It's a sponge on a stick, so you can get into some of the really deep glasses.
Our female audience are loving us right now. We're talking about cleaning, Jim. So I just want to say, I hope everybody has a great Valentine's Day. We love doing the show. Jim and I love cleaning glasses, obviously. And if you get a chance, check Jim, as you always like to say. Check our website out. And
Oh yeah, if you have a question or comment for the show, please friend us on Facebook and send us your question via Facebook. We'd love to answer it here on the show.
Absolutely. And I'll say happy Valentine's to my wonderful wife, Carrie, who does the photographs for our show.
And happy Valentine's Day to my wife, Beth.
And until next time, we see you guys.
Keep us in your wine cellar.